You must have heard Gulliver's Travels when your father was studying in class 9. He had a small book in English that is Gulliver's Travels. In honors program, we study, I also teach at honors programs, Gulliver's Travels. So Gulliver's Travels has 4 books. Gulliver has had 4 times voyages. A voyage to Lilliput, a voyage to Brobdingnag, a voyage to Lilliput, a voyage to Winnums. So the thing is that the first one was studied in simplified version in 9 and 10. So I studied in class 9 and 10 this book. Later I studied the whole book in honors program, and then I taught at different universities this. So fascinating. The first book looks like it says children's book. Absolutely, it's a child's favorite book. But it is a book of psychological journey, philosophical journey, a lot of lessons. This book, A Voice to Lilliput, is full of philosophy, psychology. And Jonathan Swift wrote this book, and he was a man-hater. He was a misanthropist. Why? Because he found people are not good. They are selfish. They always think of themselves. They try their best to cheat others. They always want to gain something. So these are the things he saw a lot, and that's why he became a man-hater, misanthropist. So he was such a restless person. He used to roam around. He could not stay at home. So he had a voice. He got an opportunity to travel. He did not have money, but he got an opportunity to go with the help of a ship captain. So when he was traveling, he was having the voice in an ocean. There was a heavy cyclone, storm, and that turned disaster. And all the people were in the turbulent water, and the boat was broken into pieces. He tried his best, and at one point he left it. He did not try. It happens. When you cannot get to the shore, you have to leave so that you can drift to the shore, or someone who is maybe in the helicopter, maybe nearby any boat or anything. That's how, if he is seen by any person, then he can be rescued. But if he tries hard to swim hard, then at one point he cannot continue drifting. So he stopped. He just left his hope. And at one point, when he tried to drag his leg down, it touches the soil. So he understood that he is very near to the shore. All right, he got to the shore, but he was ravenously hungry and he was so much tired. So he fell asleep. And next morning he found he cannot move. And when he tries, a lot of arrows were piercing him. He could understand. Later, Ekina, Degal, this sound he hears a lot. It means he was in the land of Lilliputians. Lilliputs are 6 inches in height. Can you imagine? Only 6 inches. And when they found such a giant man of 6 feet, they were scared, they were in panic, and they did whatever they could. He was fast asleep. He was tied and wrapped by a number of ropes in a way Gulliver could not move. Gulliver could not move. No way. So what happened? Gulliver surrendered at one point. Gulliver was in trouble. He could not get rid of the trouble. He was bound in a way he could not move. And sometimes some tiny objects were moving on his body. Actually, Lilliputians put a ladder, and with the help of the ladder, they got on his body. Can you imagine 6 inches in height? But Gulliver was 6 feet tall, but nothing to do but to surrender. And so many things happened like this. At one point, he was set on free on several conditions. If you have crops behind, you see. So when he move around, what happens? The crops will be damaged. So many things that are dangerous. So when they're walking, a lot of ants, they will be stumbled. They can't live. So on different conditions, he was set on free. And at one point, the king's palace was on fire. So what he did is he urinated and the fire was extinguished. Initially, they were happy, the queen was happy, but later the queen was very much feeling detestable. And he was punished. So many things were done. A doctor was there, and he used, when he slept, lied on the bed, then the doctor, with the help of the ladder, got up, and one doctor learned his language and talked into his ears. So many things happened. It was a journey, but actually it was a philosophical journey, figurative journey, you can say something that isn't what you see. Very interesting. And what happened? There was another country, Blefusco. So there was a war between Blefusco and Lilliput. And inside them, there was a river. It's something like Britain and France. Between England and France, there has been a stream, that is the English Channel, very similar to that. So they were fighting, they were having, war. At one point, Gulliver was given the responsibility to fight against Blefusco. A lot of fleet, a lot of warships were there on the English Channel, and Gulliver was carrying with the help of his hand all the fleets, all the warships. So many interesting things are there. But one point happened. At one point, if you have an elephant, how much you have to feed? You have to feed a lot. A lot of food an elephant will have. But the thing is that you need to have a lot of work done by elephant. Then it's fine. They'll be all right. But how can you make Gulliver work that much? And how can you feed him so many times food of a Lilliputian? Very interesting. So what happened? At one point, he was in danger. He will be poisoned to death. Food will be mixed with poison. So someone who was his well-wisher talked to him into his ears that you flee away, in a way you'll be killed, you'll be dead. And to have his corpse, that is the dead body, where can they give? Very difficult, right? If an elephant dies, then it's really tough to get it somewhere and bury the elephant. So many problems. So there were good sides, there were bad sides. The good side was that Lilliputians won the war between the Lilliput and the country Blefusco. So he fled away to the land of Blefusco, but Blefusco, the country Blefuscidians, they could not keep him for long. So at one point he came back to his home in England. And he became he was sure, he determined that he would never have any journey. But up after some days, he forgot his sufferings in Lilliput and he again tried his best to have another voice. You understand, mind is different. If you have a kind of mind, very restless, restive, you can't control it. So he once again had the voice. And there was a shipwreck and he landed on the shore that is Brobdingnagians. They are 60 feet in stature, in height. They are 60 feet tall. But now you understand he is in quite opposite danger. 60 feet in height. Can you imagine? So he was hiding because there was some farmers. But at one point, he thought that he might be stumbled down. He would be killed. But at one point, the Brobdingians, the farmers, caught him and took him to the king. And the king became very interested. When you see a little bird, little something, then it's really enjoyable to you, something like that. And they used to keep Gulliver on their farm. Very interesting. And one thing is very important here. The women were dressless, you know. Aboriginal people, they don't have the culture of the society. So they were without any threadbare. So he could not tolerate the bad scent, bad smell of the girl's body. And the beauty of a breast looks quite opposite. It's so detestable, so ugly. Nipple is too big. Everything is big, and when you understand, you have some bad smell, but we don't understand. Your wife, your husband has bad smell, but you don't understand. But if your husband or wife is 60 feet in height, then you will find the smell. The smell will be multiplied by number. Such a horrible situation he's been in. And he was even afraid of a rat, let alone a cat, let alone a bull. Can you imagine? And he was put in a cage and was taken to different places for people to visit him. And a lot of money was that man was earning. In the beginning, he was not taken to the king. Initially, he was keeping him and he started moving around at different village markets. And a lot of money he used to earn. Whoever comes to see him has to pay some money. But at one point, the king heard it and it was taken to the king. And the king kept it in the kingdom, in the palace. This is how the days were passing by, and it was horrible. And one day he was talking to the king. The king asked about a number of things. And at one point, Gulliver told that in England, something is not there, but they say there is. Suppose you tell your son, hey, tell the visitor that your father is not at home. You are here in home, but you tell your son, send him to the visitor and tell him that the father is not at home outside because the man needs money or anything. And the king of that Brobdingians, he couldn't understand. How can it be? How can it be? You are at home, but you tell your son to tell that you are not home. It means the conception of falsehood is not present there. So it criticizes the falsehood of British people. We human beings tell lies. But Brobdingnagians don't know what is a lie. They couldn't imagine. And the king was surprised that such tiny people in England have politics, quarrel, fighting, and all these things. Quite imaginary voice to Brobdingagians. But the thing is that this is a philosophical journey. This is an allegorical journey, figurative language there. This is how, at one point, he got actually when he was on the way inside the case was taken by a hawk, big hawk, and it was running away. But in the middle of the ocean, somehow the case dropped and it dropped on the sea and it started drifting. And when the ship came, the ship found that and rescued it. And then at one point, he got back to his England home. This is how the story, second story, A Voice to Brobdingnagians ends.